When it comes to appealing to a man's emotion, which is only through the pain and pleasure principle, what I'm teaching right now, a lot of women either go on the side of pain, where they're usually just mean to the guy, and yes, those guys actually get addicted to them, but they get so submissive that the woman doesn't even want him. They just use him, and that woman never has satisfying relationships. But sometimes these women sometimes just use the warmth. And yes, the warmth will draw the guy in, but that guy will be way too dominant because you have no coldness to you. And he'll take advantage of you, and he'll take you for granted. And you'll feel like guys are pretty much there to use you. You gotta learn, which we will be talking about in this video. Well, tomorrow we're gonna talk about how to use the pain and pleasure. And yesterday we talked about how pain affects a man's mind. But you gotta learn how to use both principles. You can't just be using one or the other, because that's what most people do. That's where most women are. So how does pleasure affect a man's mind relative to pain? So first of all, pleasure is what draws you in. If you ever want to draw people into your store, you don't provide pain. No, boo-boo. You provide them something pleasure. You provide them a discount. You provide them a massage. Similar to some stores that they provide free food, they provide free consultations, right? They usually provide some form of pleasure to draw people in. You cannot have an angry front in order to draw people in. You have to have a warm presence, right? You cannot have too much of an intimidating look if you want to draw people in. Now, if you're an attractive woman, then you could have the bitch face as much as you want, and it's gonna work because your body is pretty much what draws people in. But if you're an average girl, it's best to have a nice personality with a hint of coldness, which I do talk about in so many of my videos, right? Pleasure is what draws people in, so you have to have some form of warmth. Now, people understand when I mean pleasure, I don't mean you have to, suck a dick. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not saying pleasure is, I'm gonna have to make a caveat in the beginning of the video to make sure that people don't misconstrue what I'm saying, right? Pleasure is any form of attention, love, and it could be sex also, right? But it's not just exclusive for that, right? So it's what draws you in. Too much pleasure, you run the risk of him taking you for granted, of him, literally his dopamine, the amount of dopamine that each time that you provide that pleasure will actually lower. And with that, a lot of times they also lose respect for you. So you can't have your cake. It's almost like you can't give somebody candy all the time, because they're gonna grow cavities and you're gonna get desensitized to the sugar, right? Too much of the pleasures that you provide will cause them to take it for granted. So you wanna use pleasure as a weapon in a positive way, as a way to create that bond, as a way to alleviate the pain that you toxically provide, right? So pleasure is what brings a self-esteem in a man's mind. It's what builds him up and what validates him. You see, every human has a need for validation. They love it when you give them that validation. It's like water. It's like when you're thirsty. The best water you're ever gonna have is the water when you're fucking thirsty. That's the best water. That water could have been pissed on by rhinos. But if you haven't had a sip of water for 10 days, Lord have mercy, that first sip is gonna feel like heaven, right? That principle is the same there. So what you do, you use the pain to deprive them of that pleasure, which increases anxiety. And this is what everyone does. When you don't live with your girl or with your guy, because you're away from them, you naturally feel anxious. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know whether or not they lost interest today. And when you see them, all of a sudden, those fears and anxiety become alleviated like magic. People love that. It validates them. It validates their self-opinion, right? That up, down, up is a natural source, is a natural part of relationships. But a lot of you ladies, like I said yesterday, don't want them to feel the down. You only want them to feel pleasure. Why? Because you are naturally a nice person. You are considerate. You don't like to see people feel sad. So you try to insulate them from the fact that maybe you're mad. And so you try to provide pleasure. Little did you know that the pleasure, the attention, the love, the adulation, the consideration that you show him will be felt with more respect if you actually, from time to time, pull away. And the reason why they can't respect a woman who provides warmth and pleasure without expecting any respect in return is because in his mind it looks pathetic. Yeah, thank you for what you're giving me. Thank you for for the pleasure you're providing. But in their minds, they're like, God damn, woman, like you can't, like clearly I'm disrespecting you, and you're letting me do that. And so deep down, those guys just cannot respect you. Just like the opposite. If you're just a bitch to the guy, and you're not nice, he's gonna think the same thing. He's not gonna respect you, or he might resent you even more. That's why we value the people who reject us more, because they, in a way, they provide us some type of pain. They hurt our ego. They mess with our self-esteem. And because they mess with our self-esteem, they're the only source that could provide pleasure. They're the only pleasure that we want from. They're the only source of pleasure that we want. I don't want your pleasure. You didn't take away my self-esteem. I want your pleasure. It's like, imagine you're a basketball player and somebody's talking bad about you and saying that you will never win a championship, but everybody else says you're going to win. Then imagine you win a championship. Whose opinion do you really want to hear? Whose opinion will make you feel the best? It's not all of the people who supported you. It's not everyone who believed in you. It's the one hater that you had. That's the one whom you're gonna listen. And that's how pleasure. That's how now that guy who's praising the basketball player, his praise is gonna go deeper. Why? Because that guy felt like he lost something because he was invalidating him, making him feel bad, confusing him. And now, because he was a source of that, he's the only one that could actually praise him and he'll actually care, right? Because he managed to change his mind, right? So remember, it's what keeps them coming back for more. But too much of that pleasure can hurt the guy, can hurt your relationship with him. You need to learn to balance the pleasure. Because pleasure is what distracts men from the problems of life, right? Pleasure is what allows them to escape reality momentarily and go into a world where they don't have to think of their problems. Another thing that pleasure does is that it prevents a guy from getting too resentful with you. It prevents a guy from backfiring and retaliating your manipulations or your attempts to influence him. The reason why is because if you flaked on him, as an example, last minute, and then you promise, baby, I'm gonna give you a crazy massage and cook you something good, he's gonna be mad at you, and the pain is already fuming inside. But then the promise of pleasure, the promise of making it up to you, causes him to sort of feel a polarity of emotions where he's kind of mad at you, but at the same time he's happy and is expecting this surprise. This friction between those polarities is what pretty much creates the electricity. It's what pretty much creates the obsession, the thinking of you, trying to figure out what does this mean? And his brain naturally assuming the best because he likes you. You see, when somebody likes you, in the beginning at least, they naturally have a bias. So you could smack him as an example. You could like almost smack him, and if the guy likes you enough, he's gonna find a way to see that as a sign of that you like him, right? Because you have a bias. Just like if you don't like somebody, you're gonna assume that everything they do is a sign of hostility. But if you like somebody, you're gonna assume that everything they do is a sign of that they like you. So you gotta use pleasure, either promising a surprise, promising to do this, or even doing it in the moment, as a way to hide what you're actually doing, right? Because once a guy feels like you're manipulating him, they're gonna start watching my channel, right? And I don't think you want that. But this is not manipulation, people. This is just influence. Pleasure is what guys are gonna use to reminisce about you. They're not gonna think about the bad times. They're gonna think about the good times. And those are the images, and the brain is gonna exaggerate those good times. It's gonna double or triple how much pleasure he actually felt around you, to the point he's gonna idealize you. You're gonna become crystallized in his mind, especially if you create some distance, especially if you start pulling away, right? Or even break up. The pleasure is what's gonna bring you to mind. No, the pain is what's gonna bring you to mind. The pleasure is what's gonna make him wanna be with you in this moment, and the pain is what's gonna make him think of you and make him wanna hit you up to feel better. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys ever wanna learn how to use your feminine energy to influence people, learn how to use your masculine energy to become more assertive, and also learn how to blend both energies to improve your dating life, your spiritual life, honestly, your relationship life, your family life, your career life, this is the course for you. If I had to make a course for my nieces, I have two nieces, one is 8, 19, and one is 14, 15. 16. Holy shit. Oh my God, he's a bad fucking uncle. He's a bad uncle. Get him. Shut up, Melissa. You should get this course, right? And this is the course that I will make for them. So, for example, watch the curriculum, right? In the first week, we're going to be showing you how to establish a strong masculine foundation without letting it hurt your feminine energy. This masculine foundation is a source of who you are, right? It's your bodyguard. Without this, whatever feminine energy you create will be destroyed by the outside, because your masculine is your shield. So we'll talk about goal setting. We'll talk about how to develop a serious attitude. We're gonna be talking about how to use more logic, how to use more goal-oriented behavior. It's more how to be a man, Now the next one is how to embrace the feminine energy, right? This one will teach you about how to minimize excessive masculine traits, developing self-awareness, healing abundant feminine energy, regulating your emotion, mastering voice qualities and facial expressions, surrendering control, and allowing pain to be felt. This is honestly, this will supercharge, like Kaioken, your masculine energy. After that, we have femininity in the workplace, and how to be feminine in the workplace without letting people take advantage of you, and the nuances of how women on power should behave versus women who are subordinates in the workplace, and even the dress code. This is based on psychology, people. It's kind of insane. I'm actually excited about this one. The next week, we talk about navigating the labyrinth of male and female friendship, and this a lot of women find confusing, so we talk about that. And how to identify envious friends, how to identify the good friends, how to keep male friends, and how to keep female friends. Week 5, we talk about how to release the burden of the past and stop and destroy mental projections. This is actually really powerful. And then week 6, we talk about how to increase your observational power so that you could read people better. And we have a bunch of bonuses. The course starts at $99, and you guys can pre-order the course today at $69 before it goes out. If you're watching this, most likely I'm in the meditation retreat, so I will be praying for all of you guys. And just click on the description down below of the video. Right there, you'll see it, and you could pre-order that course. It's gonna be out by the end of next month or the beginning of February of March. One of the two, people, because I have a 10-day retreat to do, and I want to finish the course after the retreat, because I think the ideas are gonna be so much better. All right, man. I'll see you guys later. Pre-order, man. Oh, I'm closing the channel.